Stop flappers, so let's not waste any time. Go to this video and follow the instructions there to enter my Xiao giveaway if that's why you're here. But for others, this will be a slightly longer video from my usual because there's just too much to cover for KeQing. I've put off this video for far too long, and because of overwhelming demand, I'm gonna make it for you today. Please, at any time of the video, use the timestamps to navigate to sections that pique your interest. In the video, we will go over everything you need to know for KeQing. We will cover DPS rotations and a couple tips for damage optimization, talent priorities, artifacts and weapon comparisons, as well as free-to-play options and even team builds as well. So with that said, let's start with KeQing's DPS rotation. With KeQing, you may have heard just spam charge attacks. While that is true, ask anyone who has played KeQing and they will tell you that you run out of stamina very fast. What then? So here's a quick tip for people who constantly run into stamina issues. I call this the 4-hit charge. You will see people talk about this as well if you go to the KeQing Main subreddit. What it essentially does is when you are out of stamina, instead of waiting and just aimlessly running around and waiting for your stamina to recharge, you can use this 4-hit charge attack combo to still output amazing DPS. How this works is for KeQing, you want to use the first 4 hits of your normal attack and then follow that with a charge attack. You will notice as you are normal attacking, your stamina will be recharging, and by the time you finish your 4th normal hit, you will have enough to use your charge attack. This is an important DPS rotation to use, especially in the Abyss, so do familiarize with the timing. The next tip is for Electro KeQing. The key to getting the most out of Electro KeQing is to time your elemental skill. For KeQing's elemental skill, the cooldown actually starts the moment you place the skill down. It does not show on the skill icon, but if you look on screen now, you will see that when I spam the skill, the cooldown is at around 7 seconds, versus if I reactivate it right before it goes away, and the skill will have a sub 3-second cooldown. Now, why does this matter? It all comes down to damage window actually. Powerful DPS rotation for Electro KeQing is to set your lightning stiletto down right before you use your burst skill, then reactivate it after you burst, thus allowing you to extend your electro damage window. And because you set that stiletto down before you use your burst skill, it will have a sub 3-second cooldown, which allows you to use it again to further extend your electro damage window. Now, I will show you on screen what that looks like. As you can see, I set down my skill before using my burst skill, and then I activate the skill afterwards. Before my skill's electro application even goes away, my next skill is ready to be used. By the halfway point of my second E, my burst skill is coming back up as well. This is a very important electro DPS rotation to learn if you want to get the most out of her electro build. Now, I don't want to crowd this video with these DPS tips, but if you are all interested, I can make a separate video sharing my findings regarding how to optimize KeQing's DPS. So like and comment below if you want to see that video. So moving into talent priorities, when playing KeQing, go for normal attacks, then the burst skill. You can level up your elemental skill a bit, but I wouldn't put more than 5 points in it, as you really don't rely on the damage, but instead the effects of turning your normal attacks to electro. If you're really tight on materials, just go with normal attack talents for now, as everything is centered around that. For everybody wondering if you need Constellations to build Electro KeQing, you don't. While Constellations gives good damage buffs, it isn't until Constellation 4 where the damage really kicks in. C0 KeQing can build physical and electro just fine. You don't need to worry too much about chasing Constellations. Now we move into artifacts, so let's talk about Electro KeQing first. I'm going to tell you straight up that there's actually just 2 artifact sets to build for Electro KeQing. The first being the 2-piece Thundering Fury and 2-piece Gladiator versus the 4-piece Thundering Soother. For those wondering why the 4-piece Thundering Fury isn't an option, it's because it's too reliant on reactions and it isn't reliable. At the end of the day, KeQing is an auto attack focused character, and some reactions makes it difficult to chain combos. However, there are exceptions to everything, and if you want to run the 4-piece Thundering Fury set, you can run it with Xingqiu, but that's kind of a niche build, so I won't cover it here. Basically, just choose between the 2-piece Thundering Fury and 2-piece Gladiator, or the 4-piece Thundering Soother. You really can't go wrong with these 2 options, so just pick between the 2. Main stats for you should be attack percentage sands, electro damage cup, and crit rate or crit damage headpiece depending on what weapon you are using. Substats focus on crit rate, crit damage, attack percentage, and energy recharge. For physical damage artifacts, you also have a couple choices floating around, but for myself, I found the 2-piece Bloodstain and the 2-piece Gladiator, or the 4-piece Bolide to be the best option. By the way, I can already hear people typing in the comments asking, what about the 4-piece Glad? Well, the 4-piece Gladiator looks promising. It is not that useful for physical DPS KeQing, simply because when you are playing KeQing, there's just too much emphasis on her charge attacks. And for most beginners, charge attacks will be all they use, so I would not recommend the 4-piece Glad. Now, before people start asking, the 4-piece Bloodstain is actually a decent option, but it's still more of a situational build. While it's good for clearing up mobs, it's not as reliable against elite mobs and bosses. The 4-piece effect is definitely the strongest available and offers the biggest boost when it's active. However, due to its inconsistencies, I do hesitate to promote this option. Ultimately, for my personal recommendation, I'd stick with the 2-piece Bloodstain, 2-piece Gladiator, or just a 4-piece Bolide. Now, for main stats, go for attack percentage Sands, physical damage Cup, and crit rate or crit damage on the headpiece. Substats go for crit rate, then crit damage, then attack percentage, and energy recharge. Yes, it's the identical build to Electro. Energy regen is important for KeQing because it's a good source of damage for when you are low on stamina or just used for iframing attacks. Since you will be spamming charge attacks, you will often find that you don't have enough stamina to dodge sudden threats, so always having your burst skill as an iframe is going to help, especially for physical KeQing where you rely more on normal charge attack combos. So for weapons, we have some good options. Let's start with Electro KeQing. For free-to-play options, we have the prototype Rancor, which personally I'd say is as free-to-play as it gets. Surprisingly, it isn't bad for an Electro build as well, even though the subset is physical attack. The Black Cliff Sword, this weapon has the potential to rival the Black Sword when you get 1 to 2 stacks on it, but is conditional to killing mobs, which makes it useless against bosses. Avoid using the Iron Sting as its Elemental Mastery substat isn't beneficial to KeQing apart from Electro Charge team comps, but you're not building KeQing to be an Electro Charge bot. Now, for people who got lucky and have the Flute, it's a decent weapon to use for Electro KeQing, but if you were even luckier and got your hands on a Lion's Roar, you should congratulate yourself, as this is an amazing weapon for Electro KeQing and is the best option without getting insanely lucky for 5 stars or spending money. So now we move to the non-free-to-play options. The Black Sword is a top-tier weapon for KeQing and with some refinements even outperform 5-star options. So if you would like to play KeQing and can afford a battle pass, pick up the Black Sword, it will serve you well. Onwards to 5-star options. Before the Jade Cutter was released, the Aquila Favonia used to be the best weapon for KeQing, but now if you have the Summit Shaper, it's a great stat stick weapon to run Electro KeQing with. It outperforms the Aquila Favonia for the Electro build and offers defensive options to keep KeQing safe. Speaking of Aquila Favonia, while it has been dethroned in the Electro category, it still is a top performer here. Do not dismiss the Aquila Favonia for an Electro build option, as it's one of the best options still. But now we have the new best in slot, the Jade Cutter. If you have this weapon, use it. It's currently the best weapon available for KeQing. So now let's take a look at the physical build options as well, starting with the free-to-play options again. Surprise, surprise, it's Prototype Rancor again. This weapon actually is one of the best options for physical KeQing. Forget about the Black Sword, forget about the Black Cliff. Out of all the 4-star weapons, Prototype Rancor is the best 4-star weapon for physical KeQing. So there is no excuse to not craft this weapon if you can. Of course, the Black Sword is still an amazing weapon that falls just short compared to the Prototype Rancor for 5-star options. The Summit Shaper is once again an amazing weapon. They don't call it the stat stick for no reason. Now, following the Summit Shaper, we have our trusty friend Aquila Favonia, and in first place, the best in slot for physical KeQing as well as Electro, we have the Jade Cutter once again. If you have not seen my test comparison video, go check it out. In that video, gear was equalized, and yeah, the Jade Cutter won out due to its consistency over the Aquila Favonia. So with weapons out of the way, allow me to share some of the teams that you should try with KeQing. So if you enjoy Electro KeQing, you should try KeQing Main DPS, Xingqiu Support DPS, Bennett Healer, and Fischl Elemental Support. This team actually is insanely good and underrated. Electro Charge is quite niche of a reaction, but when it's in this team, the effects are actually very substantial. Also, you are running high voltage with Fischl Elemental Support, so your KeQing will be firing off ults on cooldown. Do give this team a try if you can. Second team I suggest to run with Electro KeQing is KeQing Main DPS, Beidou Support DPS, Bennett Healer, and Sucrose Elemental Support. This is another high voltage team focused around shared on-field DPS between KeQing and Beidou. The team has Bennett to boost damage and Sucrose to keep enemies trapped and prevents scattering from overload. This is not a popular team but is insanely fun and focused around hybrid gameplay. One variation of this team can be switching out Beidou for Xiangling if you prefer a more aggressive approach as an F2P. Third team is a non-F2P team and it's KeQing Main DPS, Klee Support DPS, Bennett Healer, and Venti Elemental Support. The concept is the same as the previous team, but everything just works better since it's a Venti team. Now let's talk about physical KeQing teams. So for the first one, I suggest you try KeQing Main DPS, Xingqiu Support DPS, Diona Healer, and Fischl Elemental Support. This is a freeze superconduct team with high voltage resonance. For physical KeQing, you will find that you oftentimes scatter mobs with your attacks, and having freeze can at times hold mobs in place for quicker execution, and inadvertently increases your DPS and saves you stamina. Second team I suggest for physical KeQing would be KeQing Main DPS, Kaya Support DPS, Bennett Healer, and Xingqiu Support. This is a powerful team focused around maximizing KeQing's damage amplification while also having superconduct. This is a team with loaded reactions and is extremely versatile, also very free-to-play friendly. Third and final team, which is non-free-to-play, is going to be KeQing Main DPS, Albedo Support DPS, Qiqi Healer, and Zhongli Elemental Support. Hey, I did warn you that it's not free-to-play friendly, but man does this team smack butt cheeks. It's very intuitive to play, and with Albedo layering damage and Zhongli's Jade Shield stacking with superconduct, it's the best debuff in the game. And KeQing is one of the best beneficiaries of the recent Zhongli buffs. If you have Zhongli, definitely give this team a try, as the Jade Shield debuff stacked with the superconduct makes KeQing hit like an absolute semi-truck. And that's it for this video. I hope this long video helped you out in building your own KeQing. Please subscribe, as this video took a very long time to make and I have to justify to my girlfriend why I'm spending so much time making these videos. Also, I am really close to 10,000 subscribers and I really wish we could reach it before Chinese New Year, which is going to be this Friday. So if you are still watching, hope we can make it happen. Also, best of luck to the people who are entering the giveaway. And with that, I am out. But as always, you can catch me in tomorrow's video. So until then, stay safe and peace.